Hi everyone, this is Rosie and welcome to my studio where we can explore creativity together. Today I have a pouch tutorial for you that I designed in Cricut Design Space, and I'm calling it my Clamshell Dumpling Pouch. So let me just give you a quick overview of what it looks like. It is basically 9 inches wide by 6 inches tall by about 3.5 inches deep. And on mine I used a double pull zipper, and if you open it up, it almost looks like a little bowl inside. There are a lot of things you can store in here. I actually like to use it for my wonder clips. I just put them in there and I can reach right in and grab them when I need them as I'm sewing. Now, you don't need to use a double pull zipper. You can use a single pull. I really like the double pull zipper on it, but you do need to use a zipper that is 1¼ inches wide. This project is not designed for a 1-inch wide zipper. One other thing I want to show you on this bag is on the bottom I put a little piece of ribbon that goes from here to here. It's just secured within the seam, and with this one you can actually grab the pouch very easily. So that's optional if you want to do that. I also find that when I'm closing the zipper, it's a little easier just to grab it from the ribbon and pull. So that is an option when you're making the bag. So let's go ahead and get started. In the video description below, you'll find a link to the project, which lives in the Cricut community. You want to copy and paste that link into your browser. Once the project comes up, you can scroll through some pictures. You'll also see a description of the project, including the supplies that you'll need. And if you click on this little drop-down menu, it shows you all the images that I used to create the project. Now, this is free for you to use, and if you decide you want to make it, you just go down here and click on Make It. After you hit Make It, you'll be brought to the project screen that has all your mats sorted out for you. And up here it's just giving me a warning saying that I need to use a larger mat, so I'm just going to click OK. Now, the first mat that you see here with the image in white, that is for your exterior fabric. You want to place your exterior fabric face down or right side down on a 12 by 24 fabric grip mat. And you'll need a piece of fabric that's 11 inches by 18 inches. Then you'll click Continue. Then you'll be brought up to the next screen and they want you to set your material. So I am using 100% cotton quilting fabric, so I'm going to choose the cotton setting. And then it tells you that you need to put in your washable marker and your rotary blade. Now you can start loading your mat. Now you need to make sure that your mat is underneath the white guides and pressed up against the black rollers. Then you can press load. And when the machine prompts you, press go. From here, just follow your on-screen instructions. When it's done cutting, it will prompt you to unload your mat, and then you can go ahead and just gently peel back the pieces off the mat. Now we're ready to load the second mat, and this will be for the interior fabric. You need a piece of fabric that is 11 inches wide by 16 inches long and a piece of Shapeflex 101 in the same measurement, and you want to fuse the two pieces together according to the manufacturer's instructions. And then after those two pieces are fused together, you want to place it face down on a 12 by 24 fabric grip mat. Once you're done with the preparations, you can go ahead and load your mat. We're still on the cotton setting and we're still using the same tools. Go ahead and hit the Cricut button when it prompts you to hit go. And then again, you're going to follow all of the on-screen instructions. And when it's done cutting, it will prompt you again to unload your mat. And then you can go ahead and peel back your pieces. Now we're going to load the mat with the foam interfacing, but we need to change our material setting. So go over here and click onto cotton, and then go over to the right and click on Browse All Materials. And then you want to search for Insel Bright. And you see it right here, Insel Bright Batting. And you want to choose that. Now, this is actually a different material from the foam interfacing, but this setting works perfectly with the foam. And then the next thing that we want to do is we just want to change the pressure. And we're going to set it to more. The default actually worked fine, but there were a couple of places where I just had to pull it apart just a little bit because it didn't cut all the way through. And then you can see here that it's still requiring the same tools. And you can go ahead and start loading your foam onto your mat. You're going to use the 12 by 24 fabric grip mat, and you will need a piece that is 11 inches wide by 16 inches long. Now before you can go ahead and load your mat, you have to move the star wheels out of the way. And make sure that your foam is not in that last inch on your mat between the 11 and 12 inch grid mark. So go ahead and place your mat underneath the guides, press load, and then when it prompts you to hit the go button, go ahead and do that. And again, follow your on-screen instructions. When it's done cutting, you'll unload your mat and then you'll peel the foam off of the mat. And then that's it for the cutting. We're ready to start sewing. Our first step in constructing the pouch is to baste the exterior fabric to our foam piece. Now, I am using the Bosal sew-in stabilizer. I'm not a fan of the fusible kind because I find that it crinkles up a lot. But if you use the sew-in type, you won't have that problem. So we have the foam piece here that we cut out on the Maker, and actually I want my marking side to be down. And then I'm going to place the exterior fabric over it and line it up nicely. And then once you have it lined up, we're going to clip it onto here temporarily with some wonder clips, and that will hold it in place as we go to the sewing machine and start sewing this down. So once you have it lined up, start taking your clips and just start placing them periodically along the outline here. Once you have this all clipped together, you're going to bring it over to the sewing machine, and then you're going to baste just about 1/8 of an inch from the edge. I have everything secured down with the wonder clips, and now we're going to move over to the sewing machine and start basting. Okay, I am sewing on a Juki DX7, and I'm using a stitch length of 2.6. I have an open toe foot in here, and I've moved my needle position all the way over to the right, and I will be using the edge of the foot here as my guide to sew all the way along the edge of the project, and that should give me a 1/8 of an inch seam. Now you may have to experiment with your machine, but this works well for me on mine. And then I just pivot. And then I pivot again. Now I'm not doing a lot of steering here. The project kind of wants to curve around as I go. So you're going to go all the way around the project back to where you started. So I have everything basted 1/8 of an inch from the edge, and now we're going to get ready to put in the zipper. Now I am using a YKK zipper with a double pull, so it has the 2 pulls on it. And the tape on this is 1 1/4 inch wide. Now you cannot use a 1 inch wide tape. This pouch was not designed for a 1 inch wide tape. So you do need to purchase a tape that's 1 1/4 inches wide. There is a lady on Etsy that I like to purchase zippers from. She has really great prices, and she has some other really interesting things in her shop. And she has agreed to give everyone who's watching a 10% discount, which is good indefinitely. So I'm going to link to her shop below. That is not an affiliate link. It is just something that I secured for everyone as a discount. So the first thing that you want to do is find the center of your zipper. Now this zipper is 30 inches long, which is much longer than we need it to be. But you can do this project with a 22-inch zipper. So if you are purchasing a zipper, the 22-inch is the shortest that you can work with for this project. So when you find the center, just make a little mark. And then you're going to take a ruler and then just mark straight across. Okay, now that you have the center mark, we're going to open the zipper all the way. Okay, I'm going to turn this way now, and we're going to start pinning the zipper to our foam fabric piece here. And you want to match the center of the zipper up with the center of the foam back. And when I put my zipper on, I like to use pins. I don't like to use wonder clips for this. Some people do. I'm not comfortable with the wonder clips when I'm sewing in a zipper. Now the secret of putting in the zipper is you want to roll everything around your finger here, and that will sort of ease the zipper around all the curves for you. And you want to make sure that the edge of your zipper tape is right up on the edge of the fabric there. So you're going to pin this way all the way around. When you get to a deeper curve, make sure that you roll around your finger. And I'm not stingy with the pins. I put in as many as I feel that I need to be comfortable when I'm sewing. And this corner right here is going to be the steepest curve. So you can see it shapes around very nicely. So just keep going until you have both sides pinned down, and then we'll go over to the machine and sew in the zipper. Now I have one side of the zipper pinned in, and you can see it sort of cups around here, and that's exactly what you want. That's going to ease that zipper right in as you're sewing. Now I'm about to sew in the zipper, and I'm using a 2.6 stitch length, and I've switched to my zipper foot, and I've set it up so that it will stitch on the left side of the zipper foot. And I will use the edge of my foot here as a guide. I'll run it right along the edge of my project, and that should give me the proper seam allowance that I need for my zipper. So you're going to start sewing, and then as always you can back stitch. And you never sew over pins, so you want to take out your pins ahead of time. And just right along the edge there. You want to go a little slower. And I'm not steering this again too much. It's kind of curving around on its own. You just let the feed dogs do the work, and you just give it a little bit of guidance. And when you get to the end, you'll just backstitch a little bit again. So we have this side of the zipper all sewn in here now. And now we're going to pin the other side. And you can go ahead and do the pinning, but the one thing I want to point out to you is make sure that your zipper is not twisted, because it is joined here in a circle. So just follow it along to make sure that it's flat. And then you're going to start by pinning the center of the zipper to the center of the foam again. And just go ahead and finish pinning all around. You want to check your other side too. Make sure everything there is laying in the same direction. So it's flat here, and then it's coming off flat this way. So you just want to make sure that nothing is twisted around like this. Okay? So go ahead and finish pinning that and sew that side, and then we're going to put on the interior fabric. Both sides of the zipper are sewn in now, and I'm just going to zip it up quickly just to make sure that it's all working the way it should be working. Okay, that's perfect. So now we're ready to put in the interior piece. So you want to unzip again. And then we're going to take the interior piece and lay it over the exterior. And we're going to pin the pieces together. And again, you want to match up your center mark. So I have the center mark here on the interfacing, and I'm going to start with the center mark here in the zipper. And this time I'm actually going to use Wonder Clips. And I want to put the flat side of my Wonder Clip on this side because I'm actually going to be sewing from this side here. And you want to follow that same logic where you're kind of rolling everything over your finger to help with the curve. And what I also like to do is I like to pin this end first before I go ahead and do all those curves. And now I can make sure that everything is easing in properly and ends up where it should be. And again, I put in as many as I feel like I need to be comfortable with for sewing. And as long as you're rolling it over your finger, you shouldn't have any excess bulges. Okay, now we're going to go from this end. Same thing, line these edges up. And it's really important that these bottom edges are perfectly in line with each other. And again, when you're cutting things out on the Maker, it cuts so precisely that I have so many less problems lining things up these days. Okay, so just go ahead and finish putting in your Wonder Clips, and then we're going to go over to the sewing machine and sew. And you can actually clip in both sides of the pouch before you go over to the sewing machine. Now to sew the interior and exterior pieces together, I switched to my 1/4 inch piecing foot, and I'm still using a stitch length of 2.6, and I'm just going to follow the previous line of stitching. So this stitching right here, which is what stitched in the zipper, I'm just going to sew right over that line. So again, you're going to start with a back tack, go forward a little bit, back a little bit, and then just follow that line. And just continue all the way around until you get to the other end, and then you'll back stitch once again. Okay, now we're getting ready to turn our pouch inside out. So the first thing that you want to do is take a nice sharp pair of scissors, and you want to clip in about 1/8 of an inch all the way around. Make sure that you don't go through your line of stitching. You'll do this on both sides. And it really does help if you have sharp scissors. Then after you're done clipping, you want to start turning inside out. What you're going to do is reach in here and start pushing the pouch right side out. And it'll probably take you a little bit of time, but just be patient with it. Be careful when you're doing it. You don't want to tug on the seams too hard. You can reach your hand in there and start pushing it out a little bit too. Okay, and then once you're done turning it right side out, you want to get it flat down on your surface here and just start pulling the zipper. I just want to pull it out away from the fabric. You can do that on both sides. Sometimes as you're sewing, your zipper tape will roll in towards the seam and you'll catch a little bit of your zipper there. If that happens, you'll just go in with a seam ripper and fix that one little section. But that's good for right now. And next thing that we're going to do is press this. Okay, I'm ready to take my steam iron and start pressing this area here. And I am going to iron on top of the Cricut Easy Press ironing pad. It's a really nice little ironing pad to have next to your sewing machine. Now we want to press this down. So what you'll need to do is take any old piece of scrap fabric and just lay it on the edge there to protect the end of your zipper. And I just apply some steam and press down. And you're going to iron all the way around. And you'll do this on both the interior and the exterior sides. And now that I'm done with my steaming, I'm going to go back to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew all along this edge here about 1/4 of an inch away from the edge of the zipper. And then I will go across here, here, and here, then around this side, and back to where I started from. Now I'm going to be sewing with my 1/4 inch piecing foot, and I'm going to use a stitch length of 3.0. Okay, we're at the machine and we're about to stitch 1/4 of an inch away from the zipper. I have a 1/4 inch piecing foot in and I'm using a stitch length of 3.0. So you're just going to start sewing, do a little bit of a back stitch, and then go forward. So you're going to stitch around the entire piece. And then when you get here, you want to stay within the 1/8 inch basting stitch that you did. And when you get to the other side of the pouch, then you'll continue sewing with the 1/4 inch away from the zipper. So we're done with all the top stitching, and now we're ready to close up the bottom of the bag. So you want to start by closing your zipper a little bit. Okay, I'm just going to work on one side at a time, and then I'm going to flip this so that the interior is now on the outside, and pull your little zipper tab through. Now, you see where this corner is? You want that to fold like a V, like that, on both sides. And make sure that it's even. So in other words, you want to have the same distance from here to here and here to here. And make sure that this edge is even with this edge. And then once you have it all lined up correctly, you can go and put a wonder clip on it. And then you're going to take it over to your machine, and you want to sew about 1/4 inch from this edge right here. If you want, you could sew it from this side if you're more comfortable from doing it from this side. So I'm not going to show this part on the machine. It's just a simple straight across seam. But I will show you the seam once I'm done sewing it. And then when you're done with this side, you're going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. Make sure though that you don't have your zipper completely closed, because if you sew the zipper completely closed and it's on the inside of the bag, it's going to be very, very difficult to open it up. So the bottom of the bag has been sewn closed on both sides, and you can see where my seams are. They're about 1/4 inch from the edge on each side. And the next thing to do is take a pair of scissors, and you're just going to cut off the excess zipper tape. Do that on both sides. Now that we've snipped off the end of the zippers, you're going to take the 2 rectangular pieces that you cut from the main fabric, and we want to sew that right onto this edge right here. So pull up your zipper just a little bit, okay, and then you're going to secure this on. You want the center of this piece to match up with the center of the zipper. So secure it on with wonder clips or pins, whichever you prefer. And then we're going to sew this on with the seam line that we just sewed to sew the bottom of the bag closed. So go ahead and do that. And by the way, I used a 3.0 stitch length for that. So go ahead and use a 3.0 stitch length again, sew that up, and then do that on both sides, and then we'll finish up the bottom. And then you'll be done with the bag. I have the rectangular pieces sewn in on both sides, and all I did was follow the previous row of stitching with a 3.0 stitch length. Now what I want to do is I want to iron this a little bit, so I'm going to put it down here on my little ironing board. And the first thing I'm going to do is iron these pieces down right here on each side. Then I want to fold these little tabs in. And press those down. And then once we have those little tabs folded in nicely, we're going to fold this piece right up to the edge of the bottom of the bag. And you'll iron that in place. Just want to try and get things to look nice and square and neat. And then after we do that, we're going to fold this over, and you want it to go over this line of stitching here. So it needs to extend beyond that line of stitching. And then you'll press that in place. And then hold it in with a few wonder clips. It's kind of hot right now, I'm burning my fingers, but that's okay. So just hold it there with a few wonder clips, and then you're going to go over to the machine and you're going to stitch right in the ditch. Now stitching in the ditch means right where that seam is, so right in between the blue and the white fabric here. You'll just stitch right across, and you'll be using a 3.0 stitch length, and you'll do this to both sides, and once you finish sewing that, your bag is going to be done. So I just finished stitching the ditch right along here with a 3.0 stitch length, and if you look on this side you can see I caught the fabric with the stitching line, and that's exactly what you want to do. And now that you've done that, you can turn the bag right side out. I like to really give a little poke to these corners here just to make sure that they're coming out nice and square. And then if you want, you can go in with your iron and you can give a little pressing inside here. If you do that, make sure that you protect your zipper again. So that's basically it. You've made a little pouch. And you're all done. So I hope that you've enjoyed watching this video. I hope that you're going to go and make a pouch. Please like and subscribe.